proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Crunching Gears. Let's talk rallying, episode 9. In this episode, I'm once again joined by Connor Edwards. Connor is a motorsport photographer for various publications. So, Connor, you're very welcome along as always.
Kevin, lovely to be here again. Thank you. Can't believe we're at episode 9 already.
I know, it is crazy. It is crazy. We have a wee bit of a special this week. We catch up on the East African Classic Safari Rally. And we have some very special guests. It was a fascinating event, Connor, wasn't it? We were watching it online.
Absolutely. Like it's a struggle getting your mouth around East African Classic Safari, never mind getting your head around what's involved, like the amount of road mileage, stage miles, the logistics that goes into that. It's a fascinating rally just to even just, you know, from a you know, that whole transport, get everybody there, get all the crews and stuff, just to imagine what goes into that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and like that really piqued our imagination, I suppose, really, and we had to dig that wee bit further into it and try and get a wee bit more detail on it, didn't we?
Absolutely, you know, but that was one of the things, and that's what we're trying to do, I suppose, with the podcast. It's to get in behind the scenes and find out, you know, what makes people tick and what goes on and what's involved in the rallying that we love watching, be it online or live on the ditches.
Mm-hmm. You know, as you alluded to there, it's always the story behind the story, and that, you know, that's what we're trying to do here. So, you know, we had the pleasure of catching up with Richard Tuthill, Alex Gelsomino, and Colin McMaster. So I started off by asking Richard, you know, when did they start planning for the Safari Rally in 2022?
I think lifelong is probably the best way to describe it. No, look, the rally runs every 2 years, and it's too painful to think about 3 months afterwards. Probably getting a bit better 6 months afterwards, but definitely 18 months out, you really need to have a plan. And that starts with getting commitment from clients, and then very quickly follows with car builds, spares prep, and just general logistics that are needed to be thought about. But we've done it now. This was our 20th year in Africa, so that means we've done 10 of the rallies. It's become fairly well oiled, but yeah, big job, a very big job. And I'm already thinking, because we had a delayed rally, I'm very much focusing now on 2023.
Because I suppose that is 18 months away at this stage, so you have to be always thinking ahead. You know, what went wrong this year, what could be changed, what can make things better.
Yeah, we have a debrief when we get back. We had an operational debrief and a technical debrief. There's always things to improve on. But the one thing that you can never predict is what the rally will be, and that's a movable feast every single day of the event, and that's its charm. That really is what makes it very, very special.
And then, Alex, similar question to you. Like, I don't know, did Ken ring you? How did the conversation start about going to compete in Kenya?
Well, actually, we always spoke about doing this event at some point. The conversation started 5-7 years ago, I believe. Mm-hmm. And about, I would say 12 or 18 months ago, my friend Andy Brown reached out to me and said that, asked if there was any interest in doing this. So Andy and I go back a good 20 years. You know, we worked together from 2000. And something that I knew that he was working for Tuthill. It was a new position for him, so I reached out, and I linked him with Kevin's agent in Los Angeles, and then after a few weeks, I was told that this was an option that was going to happen. So I don't know if I know that Ken's agent was also someone that participated at the East African Safari Rally with the Tuthill team, and and knows Richard. So there may have been a link that came from, from both sides, from Richard's side and from Andy Brown's. But anyway, it was something that I think all parties were interested in making this happen, and it did.
And was it something right from the get-go you thought, yep, I want to be there as well?
Well, yes, it's obviously an event that is part of. It's an event that, together with other classics like Monte Carlo in Finland and Acropolis, the safari is an event that is made us as our sport. So to be able to participate in this event, especially in this specific event that is an old school event, is something that is a type of rallying that, with logistics and timeframes, that we don't do anymore. It was definitely an attraction. The endurance side of the event was, to me, the main attraction, and something that thought it was a great challenge. And I think Ken had the same idea.
Excellent. And Colin, like, whenever you got the call to see if McLean would cover the event, did you have to think about it very long?
Well, for me, it's a little bit different that I've done 4 of these safaris. So if you would consider global rallying, the epitome, the peak is the WRC. And if I say I've worked in WRC for 27 years, I look for other events to do that are different, some variety. And that's where the connection with Ken has come in the last 5-10 years, that when Ken and Alex go to a rally, we've done things in Switzerland, Italy. Ken's very clever in that he will bring in specialists for his social media and market, the whole package. That's what he's all about. So he wouldn't think twice to contact who he would like to work with, who he would consider the best. And on this occasion, the fit was perfect. I know the rally. My company, as you well know, McLean, we've done all 10 of this classic safaris, and this was the opportunity I was looking for. I would have gone anyway, but to work there with Ken and Alex was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Richard, the amount of people that is required for, like, just running 14 cars this time, like, how do you go about getting the amount of people you need, and how they all, to make sure they all get along over the course of 2 weeks or however long they're out there?
Well, yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges, and actually the biggest joys. So look, we've all been in motorsport a fairly long time now, and some of the guys who are working for me, I worked as their apprentice at ProDrive when I was at uni and actually before university. So what tends to happen is we all keep in touch inevitably, and every couple of years we ring each other up and say, "Come on, are you ready to do another one?" There's a problem. We're all getting older, and bearing in mind some of the guys I was employing this year were in fact I was their apprentice. Then they're a little bit older than me, so it's a huge challenge to get people, get the right sort of people. And of course, we won't just take anyone. Andy Brown, who joined us partway through last year, earlier than that, in fact, he had a great black book of contacts. So he must take credit for sourcing a whole load of new, unsuspecting people to come and charge around Africa. But it is a challenge. But the one thing is, the thing that makes it most special is you then live with each other for, let's say a month, and the team spirit that we experience, and it's the same with the drivers. To work with Ken and to work with Alex, to work with all our clients, we live with each other day in, day out, and it's bloody special. Yeah. So it's a big thing, and we are all getting older. The average age of the team is creeping up. So if anyone's listening and wants to get involved in Safari Rally 2023, then you know where to apply.
And Richard, you had a support crew of around 70 people. Like, what are the logistics headaches in trying to get that number of people out to an event like on the scale of the safari?
Biggest headache is remembering their names. Second thing is, look, it was bloody difficult this year because of COVID. So, do you book flights? Do you not book flights? What's the risk of losing hundreds of thousands of dollars on stuff you have to pay a long time in advance? The organisers were fantastic in helping us with ensuring that we weren't really chancing our arm on that stuff. But look, essentially, you've got to send 14 cars. You've got to send, let's say, 14 car kits plus doubling up on many things. So we have a 40-foot container that travels with us. That's air conditioned. 300, 400 tires. Some cars are shipped. Some cars are flown. When we get there, we've got to then have, let's say, 30 support vehicles. We have a pretty good system now. And then normal years you're across Tanzania and Kenya, so you've got to deal with currency. It's on the face of it, it's absolutely mammoth. We, to a certain extent, now have a very well-oiled system, so it isn't quite as daunting as it once was. And it took us probably 5 rallies to finally, what I would say, hit the sort of sweet spot in terms of the level of support, the amount of guys, what type of people. It's a huge task, and there are brilliant people making this happen. I am not one of them, thankfully.
And Alex, from your point of view, like competing in events in America and Europe and that, how do you know what preparation is preparation completely different to go to the Safari Rally, or is there anything that you can carry over?
Well, yeah, it's a very different event compared to what we've been doing for the past 20 years, because it's the route is kept secret, and it is kept secret quite well. We get the route book the day prior each leg, and even an idea of the itinerary and the maps was quite late. So my only preparation I could do, it was actually to speak to what ended up being my teammates. I had some calls, with Ryan Champion, with Stefan Prévost. I spoke to Fabrizio Ponce at length, and they gave me tips, what to look for, how to be as prepared as possible. And then I actually learned quite a bit about the event from a very good documentary. That there is a couple of them on YouTube, and one is from Title Team, from their experience of the event. It's about an hour long. I think it's from 2 or 3 editions ago. So I watched it a couple of times. I wrote some notes, and those notes generated questions for my teammates and for people within the team, and for our team manager Derek Dontu, which has competed many times there when he was working with Mitsubishi. And then there is another video that the organizer puts up. It's slightly longer. So all that gave me an idea of what we were expecting. I had done route charted events only, 20, 25 years ago. When I first moved to America, events used to be blind events, a bit like the RIC and WRC used to be many years ago. So working with just a route book is something that I had done before. And then we go every couple of years, we do other events that are similar to that, like the Alpine Rally in Australia, or the Silver Fern. So I competed those events, and so there was an idea. But the safari is just special because the magnitude, like Richard was mentioning a moment ago, and the length of the event is just 3 times what the Alpine Rally or the Silver Fern Rally are. So, but the idea, the concept was the same. So that was the only preparation I could do. We were very lucky because we were able to do quite a comprehensive test before getting in the car and getting to know the car, and myself as a co-driver understanding what this car does, because I haven't spent much time in rear-wheel drive cars. It's been motor cars for the past 10 years. So then put us, the homework sort of put us in good shape for the event, and we ended up, leading after day 1, and then still be in top positions, for the rest of the event. So I guess the homework was right, and we had a good idea of how to approach the event at the start.
Excellent. And Richard, Alan Harriman spoke on Absolute Rally about being paired off with drivers and co-drivers being paired together. Like that must take some work on your side to get the perfect combination in each car.
Yeah, it's a hell of a responsibility, and again, I've seen it go spectacularly well and spectacularly badly. And I think so. We speak to the clients, and the first thing is understanding the mission. Now, Alex, you might have to close your ears here, but look, there's a co-driver that you can hire that can do a job. You might not want to go to the bar with him, but he will do a great job for you. Then there's a co-driver who will do everything and be a great bloke as well. So it's actually clients are given a choice. I advise them quite strongly on who I might think will work, and then ultimately, in Alan's case, he came over and did a test with Richard Axel, and they got on like a house on fire. I think that's a relationship which will continue. So, yeah, we offer everything. I mean, the reality is that the only thing you have to do if you want to do the Safari Rally with us is book your own flight. We can take care of every other aspect of the event, but it comes with its challenges.
And the likes of Alan's driver, he'd never competed in a rally, never mind competed in Africa before. That must throw up different challenges as well.
I got a thing about what's necessary to go and do a rally, and I believe it's very different to doing a circuit race. In circuit race, you directly impact everybody else. The rallying, it's less of a thing. What prepares you for the Safari Rally? Well, as Patrick Sandell said, day 2, top of, I don't know, somewhere, roughest stage on the rally with tyres coming off with down to the canvas. And Patrick, who's done enough rallying at a high level, as we all know, and been very, very successful, his exact words were, I thought I'd done some rallying. It turns out I've never done a rally. So no matter how many rallies you've done, until you've got to the end of a 150k stage in Kenya, you haven't lived.
Yes.
So yeah, I think this business about taking novices to Kenya, if you look at it another way, we do a couple of days training in Sweden at our ice driving school. We do a couple of days at Walters or Sweetlab. Then you've got 9 days of driving, and the mileage that they do would be 10 seasons in the British Championship.
Yeah. So
by the end of the rally, they're more experienced than anyone who's been through the MSA license qualifying criteria.
Yeah.
So I think it's great to have if you have a brilliant co-driver next to you. Of course, you can be managed, but it works. It works very, very successful, and it's something I have no qualms about doing forever.
Yeah, it works. Why you change it? It's like truly, So, and then Alex, back to yourself there again. Like that, spending so long in a car. Like again, going back to the Absolute Rally podcast. Like they mentioned that this was equivalent. One day was equivalent to a full WRC event. Does that then bring its challenges? Do you have to work on your fitness, your stamina, as well?
Yes, you definitely have to look. We try to keep fit as much as possible with this job that we do in national championship and international events. But like Richard said a moment ago, this is next level. So we knew we were gonna be presented with this challenge. So a couple months prior to that, we worked on personally, and I know that Ken does the same thing on stamina, on endurance, and slightly changed the fitness program that we work with, and it's something that you have to do. You're an hour 10 minutes per single stage on some of the longest stages in the car. It takes a long time, that hour. Yeah, it goes by fast, but then you realize that what 110 kilometer stage is like, and some of them, like especially day 1, there were some long stages, and they were like proper rally stages with a lot of technicality. Later in the event, yeah, there were long stages, but there were long straights as well, and those stages went by really quick, even if there were long stages. But generally, the event required a next level of physical and mental preparation. So to prepare for that was different. To experience it firsthand was something that as a competitor, as a rally car driver, is priceless. I gained so much experience in one event. It was pretty much like, 3-4 years of rallying elsewhere. Yeah.
And then, Colin, yourself, like, how do you go about preparing for an event like this as well? It's not, just throw a few things in the bag and off we go.
I wish I could just ring up Richard and book a flight ticket. But normally, on say a WRC rally, I will drive every stage as a recce, same as the competitors do, and that's a day and a half, 2 days. And unless you live in Kenya, are incredibly wealthy, or have a lot of free time, you can't recce the classic safari, no chance. So got a bit of a confession that McLean have a local man, a guy called Jeff Mays, and both Richard, he's used Jeff as his local fix-it man, and Alex knows Jeff quite well. But whenever there's a rally in Africa, we use Jeff. He joins the team. I stay in his house beforehand. He lives up in Naivasha, and he also owns Bowler, you call it Bowler Wildcat raid car. So he actually drives in Kenyan championship events. So he knows these roads. He's also fantastic with the animals. He's a safari guide by day. He's also a very good photographer, and he's also quite a shit joke teller. So the whole package works quite nicely to team up with Jeff, and that's what we always do. And
glad you mentioned the last bit.
Yeah, true. Huh? Imagine 7 days, 9 days of that. Like you get one rest day from the jokes. But yeah, I mean, without some local help and a wealth of experience, like my business partner Reinhard's done all 10 Safari Classic rallies. So between the pair of us, we know certain sections. But if I was to say, if your main client is Ken Block, on a rally like the Safari Rally, well, Ken Block's, he's got 6.8 million Instagram followers. And that's been built up through the Gymkhana videos and mainly the videos he's done. So when you're talking in terms of stills photography, which is what I do, 6.7999 million of those people have an attention span of 5 seconds. So you have to find some mega action to satisfy your client. And so the pressure's on a little bit from delivering those images from what is a very unique event, which isn't all about the wild Gymkhana style action. It's quite different. So that was quite a nice challenge this year to work with Ken.
And I would say it's something you relish. It's been, getting the envelope pushed that wee bit more. It's something that I would say excited you before you left.
Well, and Alex will back me up on this. I worked with many, many drivers over the years in different events, but you can talk to Ken quite openly. You do your research and you talk to him, and he's looking for something quite specific, and you have to deliver it. But he's very open to discussing where you're going to be. This is where I think this will be good. Yeah, I'll basically send it. And maybe Alex will pick up a little anecdote about that from the Safari, but it's worked in the past, and because I know what's needed.
Alex, you want to take that then?
I agree 100%. And we've done a lot of work now with Colin over the years in many different environments, from the Alps, to Italian stages, to Caribbean islands, and now the Safari. So it is critical nowadays. I see how the sport has changed so much. You have sometimes brilliant, talented drivers that are incredible behind the steering wheel, but they can't produce the level of social media or exposure that a good corporate sponsor needs, or either small or big sponsors, and then you have someone like Ken that has really set the bar over the last 15 years. And I know this is my 17th year co-driving for him, which in rally terms is like 100 years and everything else. It's been a very long partnership. So I've learned a lot by working with him, understanding what the guy does when it comes to media exposure and things like that. And obviously his credentials, back that up. And because, I mean, look, we never set top 3 WRC stage times, but we have some pretty corporate sponsors, stitched to our race suits, and the last signing, which has been Audi, has been it's been such a big deal because it's an automotive manufacturer that has focused on other ways of creating exposure and advertisement. So to go after a rally driver and ask them, hey, we want to be your partners for 2-3 years, whatever that is, it shows you that we're talking about a different type of driver and a different type of approach to motorsport, which, like I said a moment ago, unfortunately, has changed. Results nowadays are not that critical. What's critical is what you give to your sponsor, the amount of exposure, the amount of coverage. So it is what it is.
Yeah, just as an aside to that, it's something that a lot of young drivers coming up through the ranks should be looking at and taking from that, really, shouldn't it?
Yes, look, it's easier said than done, obviously. But Ken is there. The example has been set. There is a lot of drivers that are doing a good job, and however, it is difficult. It is difficult. You need to have the tools in your hands to create the social exposures, and the tools are, the Colin McMaster, the Hoonigan Media Machine and things like that. And then you have to have the brain that manage all those tools. So it's easier said than done, but okay, I'll leave it like that. I'm not an expert. It's been great to be following this from the sidelines and from the right side of the car and experiencing all that and understanding how this machine has worked, really.
Yeah. And Colin, you alluded to there was a few, it's not fair maybe to say setups, but a few places that you told Ken you were going to be. He provided the entertainment then?
Yeah, I think I remember Alex talked about the Alps. We did digress from safari, but we did a rally in Valais in Switzerland, and there's quite a well-known jump on one of the stages, and Ken and Alex did their recce and we met up afterwards. I said, well, I'm definitely going to this jump. And this is where, the Ken brain kicks in. He goes, sits with Alex, says, right, look at the notes. And it was, you'll have to, I don't know pace notes, but I think the note was 5 right, 100 crest, or whatever he said. It was 5th gear corner, 100 meters crest. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, it means I've got 100 meters to make up my mind if I'm going to lift or not. And you say you're going there, his video crew are going there, you get in position, you have to, he'll deliver the action, you deliver the image. It's simple as that. And that's the trust and the relationship that works. So when we went to Kenya, he had his own videographer there, a really nice guy called Pierre Wiekberg, who's worked with Pierre before. And Pierre asked me on the very first stage of the first day, where shall he go? And I said, well, you can, I told him where I was going and said, in between where I'm going, where Reinhard is, there's a crest. But for a stills image, there's nothing. It's under a tree in the shadow. And so Pierre went there and got it. Nice shot, open up with a bit of action, just what Ken wants. So Ken asked me if I went there. So a little bit the pressure's on. So the next day I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to a jump. You go through the road book and the very first section had 2 or 3 crests quite near the start, so 12 k's in. 12 k's, it's like a long way down Ireland. That's the whole stage, But, so I drove over these crests thinking, I don't know, not sure. So you send a message back, I'm on the 3rd crest and it's absolutely flat out. And I knew it was flat out because the school bus went flat out. It was that strange that I was thinking, God, am I in the right place here? Because this could be absolutely rubbish. And Ken was the first car on the road, except he wasn't. There was Alex and Ken had 2 punches, I think, early on in the section. So they ended up, when they fixed those, they were 3rd on the road. And the first 2 cars, the first car on the road was the winner, I think, Baldev Shaga, and he wouldn't clear your wallet on track. he doesn't jump, but he's an expert in Kenya. And then the next one was Rosenberger, I think, and they both took, it's a bit of a lift and it was nothing. And I think I'm in totally the wrong place. And then too late to get the message through, and all I can hear is this flat 6 flat out for 300 meters. Absolute commitment. And Alex and I and Richard, I'm sorry, we'll have to disagree on this. Ken got the shot, he was happy about it, but it was one of those moments. I didn't expect to go to Kenya to make pace notes for Ken Block.
We better be careful who's going to listen to this, boys, because next thing we're going to be accused of illegal wrecking, and that's a discussion that doesn't need to be had. But
illegal photography.
That also explains the damage on the car. So okay, so it's your fault, Colin.
Well, actually, I went to service straight after that, and was checking the front, and luckily there's no radiator on a air-cooled 911.
Was that the one that was it doing a bit of that?
I've got the images. If you if I can work out how to do this, I can show you exactly what we're talking about.
Please make sure you're about to show us the right thing, Colin.
Yeah, exactly. You talk from experience, perhaps. That's the truck delivering the crisps and milk, I think, to the village. Absolutely flat out. Does that work?
Yeah, that will.
This is Ken. And yeah, I had my heart in the mouth, I have to admit, but that's the image that the client wants. Yeah.
During the safari, there is 2 group text messages. One is Colin, myself, and one is Richard and myself. And those text messages, they all supersede each other. One text, the other one text. So put yourself in my shoes. I'm between a rock and a hard place, where you have the Colin, where we need to deliver the images and the correct media that impresses the viewers, and on the other side you have the team boss that says this car has to finish the rally without a single scratch. It did have a couple of scratches, but nothing major. So I think at the end of the event we achieved the media and brought the car home in one piece. I think the job was half done at least.
Yes. It's a fine line. You're having to keep the 2 camps happy.
Yeah, go on, Colin. Go on.
Just wonder, what was the expectation at the start?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's Ken comes with a he comes with a reputation, but I don't tend to. I tend to judge any book by its cover. So a lot of chat was, look, he won't get past the first stage. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to ruin the car. And I can honestly say, genuinely, no bullshit, if I can say that they had one incident which did some damage. Other than that, we really didn't put anything on their car. And I drove very briefly with him in Saudi Arabia.
Alex, what was yourself and Ken's expectations going into the rally? We mentioned being fast early on. Was that part of the game?
Look, I know Ken as a driver well, and I know his character, and I knew that Ken has not spent any time in. He hasn't spent a lot of time in rear-wheel drive cars, and hasn't spent really any time driving standard gearbox cars. So I was a little like, okay, it's gonna take a little bit to get used to this car, but it did take a little bit, but it was a combination of factors. The car ended up feeling and driving it was very user friendly, and I think it goes down to the dampers and the way the car is set up. The test that Richard was referring, it was actually a really good test road because it was laps of probably 3.5 Ks that we got to experience the car in a similar scenario and push it every lap. So there was a good test there, but the car ended up being a user friendly car to begin with. And as soon as we got used to how to manipulate the gearbox and what to do with weight transfer and how to use the torque on the engine, the progression started becoming quite good. And then we did another test that was in a more open area and with some forest, and that was a very good test as well. Look, I'm a firm believer that you win rallies from recce and from the test. Driving flat out on race day, that's easy if you've done your work on the on the test and on the recce. In this case, we don't have a recce at this event, but the test was very good. We were given the good roads to do a good test, and we were given the good feedback from the technical side of the team and from Richard, and the driver improved quite a bit from the first time he drove the car when I was sitting next to him to when we were done with the testing. So that was a big help and allowed us to get familiar with the vehicle and the characteristics of the vehicle from the word go.
Excellent. And Colin, go back to yourself there. We talked about, you can't rake at the stages, and like we know with the wildlife and things in Africa, do you have to kind of be kind of more or less on the hoof going along, and you'll see like a elephant stand, and you'll stop and think we can make a shot out of this, or what way does that work?
Well, you have to understand Africa before understanding what you're going to do with your camera there. And the same sort of thing applied when the WRC went there after how many years it was, 10-year break or whatever, 20-year break from WRC. And they all said, well, they're just short little stages, no rougher than Acropolis or wherever, we'll be fine. You think, hang on a minute, Africa's different. The road can bite you anywhere, and you've got the animals and all sorts of other hazards that you won't find anywhere else. Africa's unique. And of course, that played out when Rovanpera got stuck in Fesh, when Neuville broke on the last day, when Ogier smashed the suspension on the first day, lost 3 minutes, still won the rally. This is what rallying Africa is typically providing, plus the weather. So none of these guys in WRC had seen what's called black cotton soil, when the dark soil, when the rain comes, gives you zero grip. So you learn all these things, but you can understand, yep, rain, going to get black cotton, no grip soil, dry, dusty area, going to get fesh. What you can't predict is the animals. And this year on the classic safari, they ran 2 complete long road sections. I think Alex will tell you that they're about 35 kilometers through not a conservatory, but a national park, Amboseli National Park. And I've never seen the park so full of wildlife. And
it was busy, wasn't it?
It was. I've been there, and it was dry. Africa has been dry for many months now. They're going towards a drought. They had the floods. That's why we saw lakes that didn't exist in that park, completely flooded areas. And so as I mentioned before, Reinhard, when he saw this as a road section in the mornings, great wildlife viewing through the national park, he said, do you mind if I just do the animals? So, Mr. 6.8 million Instagram followers got pictures of a 911 driving past elephant, wildebeest, zebra, and flamingo on the same day. And I think, Alex would back me up on this. I think he was quite overwhelmed by the whole thing. They basically drove past a herd of elephant and then ran the corner past a lake, and it was full of flamingos. The best bit of this story was, 65-year-old Reinhard got caught by the park rangers getting out of his car and going off piste and got fined. And there were 3 ranger guards that stopped him, and he looked into the car and saw, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30,000 Kenyan shillings, and off he went.
Brilliant.
I didn't put that on the invoice to Ken. I should have done 30,000 shillings park ranger fines.
And Richard, I suppose you could be considered veterans now of competing in Africa. Does it get any easier, or are you still discovering and learning things on each trip?
Never take anything for granted. I think it probably goes for anything in life. But we just stick to a formula. We work so hard in every respect, and the mission is keep small problems small. Don't let them develop. And as long as you do that, you're going to be all right. But we're considered a big team, and of course we are a big team. There's not many. Our record is 17 directly run cars, and even Malcolm Wilson might struggle to keep up with that. But then if you put that into perspective, 17 cars in the Safari Rally, well, no one can compete with that. So we consider this sort of big dominant force on the rally. And of course, by numbers, we take a lot of people. We run less support per car than any other team on that rally. So you're allowed 3 technicians, you're allowed management vehicles, you're allowed 3 service vehicles, you're allowed a whole load of things. We have less cars and less people per car than any other team. But what we do extremely well is we work like hell. If you have some time on the road section, you use it. So you might on the third road, after the third stage before the 2-hour service that we get every evening, we'll use that time. We won't just kick the tires and send the car down the road. We'll bolt check the front end. We'll remove the sump guards. We'll do whatever we can in that 20 minutes so that we have 20 minutes more when we get to the main service at night. We'll wash the cars on the way back. We set up a wash station, and sometimes I'm privileged enough to wash the cars. So we just work very, very hard. And yes, you learn every time, like anything in life. But you just got to be ready for something you've never seen. And it actually doesn't matter how many cars you run. 17 cars was the best we ever operated as a team, because if I'd got that wrong, it would have been commercial suicide. The following year it was 8, and we're like, it's 8 cars, it's a bit of double. But you had weather, you had a whole load of circumstances that worked against you. We've got a massive mission on the road sections to keep up with the rally. So we just work at it, and there's nothing I'd rather work for than the Safari Rally, because it's life changing, genuinely life changing for everybody who takes part.
I think, Kevin, that Richard's quite modest here. That I've said to him previous events, he could actually win the Safari Rally
himself, driving,
definitely, but he's too much of a businessman. But I'd love to see it one day.
Take that as it's meant. Listen, my job is to look after these guys, but I did the Safari in 2000 and might help me here, Colin. 2001 or something, 2002 in a Subaru. Okay. That was in a Subaru in a WRC, and then I made a terrible mistake of co-driving in 2003. Never do that again. But I've probably done more miles of testing than most other people ever have, certainly in 911s. And one day, of course, it might be nice to do it. But whilst it's a really important part of our business, my absolute focus is on doing the best I can for our brilliant clients. But just to do the testing and just to drive in Africa is a privilege. So maybe you co-drive for me, Colin, when we're all retired.
Yeah, if you want to get lost.
Like Alex, I suppose, like competing in America and Europe and all, we sort of touched on this earlier. Like you have your pace notes and you do your recce and all that. To go from that to a road book that you presented with the night before, and all you have is the road book and the GPS. Like, is that? Does it take a few days just to get your head around all that? How to make it all come together and be committed to call a section flat out to Ken?
Yes, it is. Obviously, it takes some getting used to. Also, because every clerk of the court have their own style of creating and interpreting a road and translating into a route book. And the GPS has been an addition for this year, and definitely keeps things much safer, because it is a concern when you're dealing with open roads, that you could easily take a wrong turn and end up several kilometers before you realize it. So it's an introduction that they did this year, and they wanted to. I think they were asked to do that to keep things safer. The route book interpretation is something that it takes a few kilometers to getting used to it and understanding what the clerk of the court mean by each tulip and each description and everything, and then you hope that information will be consistent through the entire event. So look, it is the only way to run an event of this magnitude. It will be impossible to do a 2,700 kilometers rally with recce and everything. So this sort of endurance events are route book only. I'll be honest, it's not my favorite type of but then with this specific event, you have so many other things that are unique and incredible that as a competitor, as a co-driver, you tend to forget, like, okay, I'm not reading pace notes, I'm interpreting the signage and the wording that clerk of the course has created. Ken at the end of the event, he said, "Hey, Alex, we won 8 stages. That's pretty good first time there." And I said to him, "Mate, you won 8 stages. You know, I was here trying to interpreting and reading to you this information every couple of kilometers or whatever, you know." So I didn't feel as a co-driver I was as involved or as critical, let's put it this way, as I would be in a normal rally. But then at the end, this is a type of event that it's such an incredible event that I said to myself, I'm going to go home. I'm going to take several days to think this through and learn from what has happened, the positive, the negative. And then after I did it for several days, I said, no, that's not enough. So it's going to take a few weeks, you know, and then I'll go back to my material. I'll go through the route book and everything and think what happened, you know, and the experiences that we had over the 8 days of competition. So just by me telling you this, it makes you realize the magnitude of this event compared to a normal rally and what you're dealing with as a competitor.
Yeah, the fact that you just can't step out of the car and say, job done, move on to the next event. It's taken a wee while just to process it all through.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really don't do that with any other event. No. You know, you get back home, route book, pace notes in the shelf, ready for next year. This is an event that you have to think over through seriously. And to me, that was one of the highlights of the event. Doing a rally, doing an event like this that has taught me so much, not about just competition and rallying, but excuse my English, but about life as well. You know what I mean? You know, dealing with a team and working with a team for so many days, you know, being with a driver together for so many days, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, you know, this is just different.
Yeah, different level. And then, like, Richard, you know, how would I put this? Like, before the event, you know, these drivers who, you know, your clients come along, do you have to give them a certain bit of mechanical knowledge before the event as well, that they can carry out, you know, basic roadside repairs to get into the end of stages or into service or whatever?
It's gonna help at some point. Honestly, I mean, this sounds extraordinary. I'm touching some wood at this point. You know, we don't have massive problems on the event. The standout performance this rally was Patrick Sandell's co-driver Henrik, who changed a drive shaft in about 20 minutes. Now, I can promise you, to change a drive shaft in 20 minutes in the service area is tough. So that was mighty impressive. So yes, we do some training for those that want it. The cars don't carry very much. They carry a spare drive shaft because that will actually stop the car, although that will be fixed by the next rally, finally. And they carry a bit of brake fluid, some tie wraps, and, you know, some bodging kit. But we have a philosophy in the team that we don't want to carry anything, because the more you carry, the more you've got to carry. Therefore, the car's going to have to work harder. They're extraordinarily reliable, and we rely on drivers and co-drivers to give us good feedback when we see them. So they must mention everything. They must tell us what they're feeling, whether it's big, small, because we're always looking for changes. But yeah, a bit of training certainly helps.
Yeah, sometimes it can be that small thing that, you know, that can be prevented, turned into a big thing. You know, it might only feel like a small vibration now, but that could be the start of something. And if it's dealt with at the start, it's no longer a problem.
Yeah, nip it in the bud. And you'd rather be doing some preventative stuff than dealing with a major problem. We have, obviously, we would rather take penalty and send a car into a 100+ K stage healthily than risk it. So it's a challenge. We can't really drive the cars very often. As in, I can't jump in the car and drive. I can drive up a road section occasionally if I have to. And we've got altitude changes in the rallies, so we have to worry about jetting. So it's proper old school mechanicking. And you just got to keep at it.
I'm sorry, another thing that just popped into my head. Like, your father was out on the event and your son. So 3 generations of the Tuthill family. That's a nice thing to have as well. And I believe your father's still very hands-on.
Well, he is. He's a huge asset, as he is a huge pain in the arse. So I have to live with my father for 25 days, and that it's sort of wonderful. And yeah, Fred came along. So I first went to the Safari Rally in 1981, which I was 7. Dad did it in a Saab, and I can still taste the pineapple juice that I drank at the hotel in Nairobi. So I guess something got into me at that point. And then when I get off the plane in Nairobi or Mombasa, you smell Kenya, you smell Africa, and and you feel it in your body, and it's the most wonderful feeling. So it just happened that because of the postponed event, February fell in half term for Fred. Okay, he took another cheeky week off so they could do the whole rally. Why not? It was very, very special, and I'm sure that will live with him. It'll also live with Ken, because Fred got Ken to sign a T-shirt every night, day 1, day 2, day 3, so on. So he's going to auction them for a charity, a Kenyan charity. So it was a great privilege to have him with us.
Two things to say there. Firstly, Henrik changing a drive shaft in the bush in 20 minutes. Must have been a front drive shaft. That was quite something. But any father that takes his son out of school for a week to go on a rally deserves Father of the Decade. Yes. That's the kind of dad you want.
For sure.
You've got to do your bit now and then. There's more to life than the schoolroom.
Richard's absolutely right. You could blindfold me and transport me to Africa, and as soon as I walked off the plane, I would know exactly where I was. It's quite unique.
Amazing. Amazing.
Alex, you mentioned earlier how challenging the event is. Like, it's 9 grueling days of rallying. Considering you got a new road book every night, did you actually get a chance to sleep?
Yes, you do get the chance to sleep, and you have to sleep somehow, because otherwise, you won't see the end of it. So it is not as challenging as a recce event, because you don't have to clean hundreds of kilometers of pace notes, and you don't have to then watch them on video and everything. So that you don't have that time spent doing that. So it is what I expected as far as time frame. And one of the challenges of this event is that you're moving locations, if not every day, every couple of days, which requires a logistical, massive effort from the team and everybody associated with it. So it is that's different compared to other events where I checked in this hotel room yesterday, and I'll be here for another 5 days. Testing tomorrow, recce the following day, 2 days event, and then the following day you leave. So that's the different part of it. But again, the team is so well organized, and they've done this so many times that you follow some procedures, you follow the schedule, and you know that tomorrow you'll check out. Oh, then you'll be in this hotel for 2-3 days. So you adjust your timing, and with that you're adjusting, the work that you're doing together with the sleep that you're gonna have.
And Colin, like, for you to move around, like, you talked about the characteristics of the road, the muck, if it rains, there's no grip, and how do you physically move from location to location?
Well, on this rally, it's more about quality than quantity. So typically we had 3 stages every day, and there was a couple of days where it was a loop. Most times it was linear. So you're down to 1 stage a day. And you might as well pick the best location you can. And you do have the advantage where you can just drive the roads and see what you see. But you tend to, from experience, know this section's well known for some fesh. This one's quite bumpy. This is rough. This is, you look for different things. Or when there was the classic long day before the rest day, we started at the foot of Mount Kenya and finished at the foot of Kilimanjaro. And if you know Kenya geography, it was a long day. And to me, that was something quite special. I would love to have photographed the cars with both mountains, but these mountains were they're quite elusive with the clouds. So you never actually saw the Kili this year properly with the rally cars, which, and again, for me, that's not a problem, because I'll go back to Kenya. I'll go back to this rally, and there's years when you see it and there's years where you don't. So you have to be reactive and proactive. So if you hear that there's rains in section 2 and there's an advanced car and you can find the information, what's going on, you try and get there. You know, I've seen some amazing things on this classic safari with half the field stuck at a mud hole. And, you know, this year was dry, apart from one part of one section. And I'd love to ask Richard something about these 911s in the mud. Bjorn Valdegaard, I haven't talked about him, but Bjorn was the very first winner of any safari rally in a Porsche. And that was 2011. Is that correct?
Yeah. Amazing man. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
man.
Completely. My business partner again, Reinhard, he did the Hong Kong Beijing rally in the early years. 5 days he towed Bjorn Valdegaard on a tow rope through China. And so they got quite a good relationship. And it was on that rally in 2011 that Reinhard introduced me to Bjorn and sat next to each other at dinner. Ironically, it was the night my father died. And I actually met a legend when a hero of mine passed away. And I asked Bjorn, knowing how good he was in Africa and knowing how good particularly he is in mud, how do you drive in the mud? And Bjorn said to me, 3rd gear, 3,000 RPM. And it stuck in my head. And I would love to know, firstly, from Richard, if that's true or not. And secondly, from Alex, there's a video Ken posted of you doing like dancing on ice in the mud, 360 here, there, and everywhere. What was he up to? Was he in 3rd gear at 3,000 RPM? And is it true?
Richard,
I don't think Ken's never been anywhere at 3rd gear 3,000 RPM. So that I can answer that before Alex gets the chance. If anything Bjorn says is going to be true. And that year he won, you bear in mind, you remember, he was very, very ill before the rally. I mean, he turned up, and when I say looked like death, we saw him when he arrived, and Dad and I both started thinking, okay, we need another driver. There's no way he's going to pull through. And he got fitter and fitter. He got younger and younger, actually, during the event. But he came to the end of some of those stages, and it was wet. And he confessed that there was an element of luck as to how he got through some of these long sections. And I think there's mega photos that Reinhard and you are probably responsible for, the Toyota coming through. It looks like a hippo coming out of a mud hole. Of course, rear wheel drive and traction with the Porsche engine helps. But there's a point where the tyre, and Bjorn was very, very keen to point, there's a point the tyre just cannot do anything. We have been able to in the past use mud tyres, makes a significant difference. But at a certain point, you're all passengers, 3,000 RPM, 3rd gear or otherwise. And I think the biggest skill is reading the road, understanding where there's deep water, where there's less mud, more mud, whatever it might be. And you often see cars coming through the bush because it's actually better to be on the curb. But he had a sense that none of us have got. He also had this incredible ability to know what the front of a 911 did. I have to left foot brake to reassure myself as to what's happening at the front. He didn't left foot brake. He's very aggressive with his right foot, but he knew what the front of the car was doing in a 911. And even when Stig was his teammate with us, Stig just said, whatever Bjorn says, I'm having. No question. He's a remarkable man, and we've got a lot to thank him for.
And Alex, the dancing on ice. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there was actually there was, I don't want to say funny, but that stage was the day after I made the mistake. They cost us 2 hours in penalties or whatever that was. So I was like in the car, sort of like enjoying seeing him struggle, because now you see what it feels like to struggle. But it was quite vocal in the car, and I was chuckling, because it was just like ice, But again, there was another learning step of understanding what the 911 does and how you drive the 911. Look, when we crossed the finish line of that stage, we were both quite relieved. And there is a classic picture on social media where the car is completely brown. The livery is completely covered in mud, and it's such a classic safari photo right there, isn't it? I think it's on the way to the printer, and it's going to end up in my office at some point. But there was that was quite a unique stage, and I'm happy that the conditions were like that because we got to experience it. And again, that's another safari experience right there.
Mm-hmm. And then, Colin, go back to yourself. Like, you've done this rally a few times now, but like, every time you go back there, does this give you an appreciation for what Reinhard and all these guys had to do back in the 70s and the 80s? When you hadn't the luxury of, a helicopter or any of these things, it was a lot more primitive back then.
Oh God, I started my career in film,
Mm-hmm.
and Reinhard was purely a film man. And so at the end of the day, there was no laptop, there was no digital image. So basically they all went to the bar and got pissed, all of them, every day. And but the funny thing is, imagine you take what you would consider to be the greatest rally photo of all time. And Reinhard's responsible for many of them.
Mm-hmm.
You've got it in your camera on a 36 exposure film, and you took it on a Friday, you'll see it on Monday. And now we just look on the back of the screen and you see it instantaneously. So the thought, I think, for photographers today to think, haven't I captured that? It's just unbelievable to think, you're going to wait 72 hours before you even see the image. But times changed, and I'm glad to have experienced both. Mm-hmm. I started on film, so it was a completely different era. But the stories that come out, and it's just so nice hearing Alex talking about that stage. And then on the very same day, I did the first stage where they drove. You would be completely unaware of this, Alex, but he drove around a rock the size of a football pitch called Lions Rock. The night before, because I was staying on a camp very close by, we saw lions on that rock and went there in the morning. And I was with Jeff and Jeff's wife, and in one car. And there were 2 or 3 locations around the rock to take nice pictures. And basically Jeff said, you take the car and go 300 meters away. We'll stay here, because if the lion comes, we know what to do. You haven't got a clue. And it's little anecdotes like that. So we're basically dealing with a lion and with a cub and a friend, and literally 50 kilometers away the other side, they're dealing with rain, and we're in sunshine in the morning. And we did the section. It was the first section of the day, and then went back to the lodge and had breakfast, and then headed over towards the coast. So these things do not happen in WRC, and that will go back to what I said at the very start, that I've done so many seasons of WRC. I continue to do it, and I look for these things in life, these challenges, different adventures, and this is an adventure. Yeah. That's the main thing. That the Safari Classic is one of the few motorsport adventures really left in this modern world. Yeah,
the modern technology, there's some of it is seeped in, but it's still man against machine and against the road. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's not only that, but I'm sure Richard will back me up on this, but for the Safari Classic, the rule book gets thicker every year. And that probably
I wish it didn't.
So, every year there's probably a protest to the final results. There's a homologation issue, there's a scrutineering issue. It's more and more goes down that way. But there's at least the spirit of adventure's there, which is quite rare today. And that's probably the number one reason why I love the event.
Alex, you're this bubble hat rally fan. We've seen your social media posts. You still love your rallying from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. Like, what was it like to be competing on these classic roads?
Oh, it was a dream come true. I was a teenager when the Lancia team was competing and winning at those events, and it was just a dream to be able to think that one day I will be competing on the same road. So definitely a career highlight right there. I was looking very much forward to put this event in my resume, and it's something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. The pictures, thanks to talented photographers like Colin are there, and it's just amazing, and it made me appreciate what rallying used to be. A long time ago. Okay, when I started 27 years ago, we still, it used to be challenging more than it is today. You would start at 10 in the evening and finish the following day at 10 p.m. So I did get to experience true rallying early in my career, but then rally got mellower. I don't know if that's the right word. And so to experience this again and bring me back to and make me realize what rallying used to be when the sport started. Look, it's not a career highlight; it's a life highlight.
Brilliant. So, Richard, for yourself, then, this event's wrapped up. 2023 coming down the line, as you talked about earlier about, there's already, debriefs and things. When do you actually start, with a blank sheet of paper, 2023, let's go?
Honestly, I've had meetings today about the type of inquiries we're getting. There's, and we had an exceptional bunch of clients, all of which said they want to come back. Some have already done it 2 or 3 times, but there was an exceptional bond between a whole load of them. Mm-hmm. So if they want to come back, some of them are going to bring their mates. Then we get all these inquiries. We've really got to think. We've actually got to rethink it a little bit, and we already are. Andy Brown joined us for the first time on this event, so actually that was really useful because we've got a fresh pair of eyes, and we'll reinvent the wheel a little bit, but fundamentally the cars will remain the same. The regs don't change in that respect. We'll all be 2 years older, but no, it's something that's in us, and just as Colin said, you get off that plane and roll your sleeves up, and then deal with whatever comes. It's extraordinarily rewarding, but it leaves you in a fair old state. Takes a few weeks to recover.
And Alex, if you get the opportunity to go back again, would you have to think about it very long, or would you be signing up straight away?
I think I would take the opportunity. Yes, I mean, it's you do it once, you become sort of like part of an exclusive club. But at the same time, how great will be to win this event. They say you always go to Africa first to learn, and then you win it. But that's been proved wrong by our teammate. Chris Rosenberger won on his first time out last time. So yeah, I would love to come back. Ken actually mentioned that it will be a great formative event for his daughter Leah, to compete there. She started driving this year. She's only 15 years old, and she's winning the American Championship. So, how great would be, to have that sort of experience at such a young age or in your teens, and that teaches. Let's not forget, gentlemen, rally is a sport that creates real men and women. You know what I mean? So to be able to have experience something like this at an early stage of your life, it just is going to create a true men and women, with true grit and character. So that would be, if we can materialize that idea, that would be great. And then I haven't forget about if you want to go back or not, But we'll be spending a full day on the wreck in 2 days from now, and we haven't caught up since the Safari Rally. So that will be a good time maybe to ask the question.
Yeah, excellent. And then Colin, for the likes of yourself, then, if the opportunity presented itself, I would say you wouldn't have to twist your arm to go back.
Well, I was thinking of going back in 2023 with some cameras. But actually tonight, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be Richard's co-driver.
We haven't recorded. He said you could.
We're all in trouble. I said when we retire, Colin, we're not that old.
So, a final question to the three of you. The standout memory from the event. What is the one thing that you will look back and that will be East Safari Classic Rally 2022? And we'll start with Alex.
Well, it was obviously a new experience for me. In no particular order, 3 things. The Kenyan people, their friendliness and hospitality was something that exceeded my expectation. I just did not expect it. It was a memory that I will have for the rest of my life. Number 2 was the title team, because it's run like a Swiss watch, but at the same time, there is something different compared to other teams. And we have worked with World Championship level teams, but this felt different. I don't know if it's the friendliness, if it's the level of professionalism, or the way everything is structured, or a combination of both. So there was an amazing surprise there. I did expect it because I knew the people involved, but to experience it was a highlight. And the third thing for me was the car. The car is just amazing. I did not expect that an older car, granted, it's got some modern parts, and it can take that much abuse. I mean, we beat the car up for a week of racing on some of the harshest terrain. And we would finish the stage and the steering wheel was straight. And aside from when I made my mistake, but just incredible car that it just exceeded our expectations. I mean, Ken usually saw into older cars, but we finished the rally and he said to me, "Man, I really like this car." And I agree with him 100%. It was a pure joy to compete at speed on that car.
Cool. Richard, your three standout.
Well, at this point, you wish you read the questions you sent earlier. Alex, thank you for those words. Firstly, that's very, very kind of you. And I must say, highlight is always working with people like you and Ken, who come into an arena that you're not used to, and it's a privilege to help, privilege to advise, and it's always difficult to advise because you guys have done so much, but we found a very nice way to work together. And I must say, Derek Dauncey is an extraordinary chap. He helped more than you'll ever imagine. So nice to work with you guys. I think the memory from this rally really is the camaraderie between all of our teammates, clients, because actually clients is the wrong word, because they actually become friends. And I think there was something special. Bearing in mind, I think, we've all had a couple of tough years with COVID and all of that stuff. So there was a very big sense of, right, we're actually here, we're going to do something amazing. And I think that generated a very special atmosphere. And finally, a memory of an organizing team who put on an event under serious duress, pressure, tricky circumstances with some COVID protocol and all, to follow, but they did it with a smile. And there's a great deal made of them and us, Kenyans versus Europeans, big Tuthill team, and against the local guys. Please take it with a pinch of salt. It wouldn't be the same without the Kenyan spirit. They're an extraordinary bunch of people. They're very, very talented. They do amazing things in cars, and for us to go and have a go at them every couple of years is a huge challenge, which we enjoy. And I think it's reciprocal, although sometimes it may not seem like that. But no, the organising team were exceptional. So that's a great memory. And I might add, it was their first time they were running this rally. So hats off to them.
And Colin, your thoughts on that?
Three things. I'd have to go on a different tangent and talk about the photography. So this was the first time in my life I photographed a car with a drone, and I was quite pleased with that. So it's quite a learning exercise. I'd only photographed myself and my dog in a local field beforehand. So yeah, there's a lot to get your head around. So I kind of thought I could operate the drone and a handheld camera at the same time. So I quickly learned that was impossible. So that was good. I'll not just because Alex and Richard are here, but I'd say generally, I think I've said it elsewhere before in different things, but Ken Block is one of my favorite and most respected. I just love working with Ken. I don't do it an awful lot, but when I do, I feel I need to raise my game. It's a little bit like working with Richard. I've done some jobs with him before. These are people you want to work with, and they appreciate what you do. And it just makes you put that little extra bit in, and go the extra mile. I'd like to think that we made some images that will last, for our lifetimes. We'll look back on them. That's something special for me. So to have the clients that I was working for, and It's a toss-up, but I'd have to do something to do with Africa. But on the rest day, another one of Richard's clients invited me on a balloon safari, and I'm scared of heights. So I'm
that must have been that must have been special.
Yeah. It was. There was again two different elements to that. Normally, I am really bad with heights, so just to get over that and actually enjoy the whole experience. And we were a great bunch of guys. We did a road safari a few days before the rally on one of Jeff's game farms, I think, where Alex and Ken were testing. And so we had a early morning drive and a breakfast. It was the same bunch of guys that went up in the balloon sort of a week later. So yeah, that'll live with me forever. And it was, so I basically photographed what I did and put it on Facebook. And I think I've lost, I would be jealous of me for that. So
we were jealous of watching you.
Yeah, so I think I've lost more, I've lost my 6.8 million followers just by sticking that up.
Thank you very much for letting us take the opportunity to get a wee glimpse of how special this event was. It's been a pleasure. Connor, I'm sure you agree with me there on that.
Oh, listen, it's been fantastic just to hear, the stories and the bits of information and all the pieces that you're thinking of when you're following these events from home. You're wondering what's going on in the background. So it's good to get the insights.
Mm-hmm. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, that was fascinating to listen to Richard, Colin and Alex and their stories. And I'm sure they were only really scratching the surface of what's involved. I would say we could have chatted for another 3 or 4 hours there to get a bit more information. Kevin, you also caught up with Andy Brown, motorsport team principal with Tuthill Porsche.
Yeah, like Andy, I spoke to him previously on the podcast last year. And the stories with Andy is always fascinating. And he's such a great way of telling them. And such a gentleman to speak to as well. It's always great to catch up with Andy. Went over to the Safari Rally in the early 90s, but we'll let him explain the story anyway.
I did a couple of times. The first time was in 91. I went with the Nissan factory team with the GTIR. Mm-hmm. So that was the first rally when Nissan had competed in the World Championship with the four-wheel drive car. Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of time out there testing. I think we were out there for 6 weeks at one point testing, and then back and out again. So, and then again, was out there with Ford. But no, it was good to get back.
Yeah, and was that one of the draws of going back to Tuthill, like the Safari Rally? Was it always an event you enjoyed, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those. When you think of the rallies that you really want to be involved with, RAC, Monte Carlo, Safari, they're the ones that kind of people normally say they're standout events for them. But I think also the fact that it's run like the rallies used to run, service at the end of every stage, traveling around, all the World Championship, British Championship stuff now is just central service. You never move. Whereas, we were doing 600-700 Ks a day, chasing around end of every stage and big services at night, and move on to, obviously thousands of miles by the time from start to finish. So just to do that, which similar to the RAC, it's just good to do rallies that are, back to how they used to be.
And we should mention the RAC rally as well. What a fantastic rally for Tuthill Porsche as well. Yeah,
that was great. I mean, again, like I say, one of the famous rallies that you've kind of grown up watching. So yeah, to get the win with Ryan was amazing. I mean, it was really, really one of my top events that I'll remember. I think just,
yes.
Like I say, you grow up watching the RAC on TV. So it's, it was pretty special, that one.
Mm-hmm. That is for sure. And like for the, Tuthill Porsche to compete in the, the Safari Rally, it's probably like a well-oiled machine now for them at this stage. But, can you give us like a rough guide to like what's involved in getting one car together, to ship out?
Well, all the cars are built from a donor car, obviously. We get a lot of cars in from America just because they're in good condition, obviously no rust and things. They're stripped to a shell, sandblasted, probably like most people, go through it all, any repairs that's necessary. And then obviously Tuthills have been doing safari that long. They know where the extra strengthening needs to be, you know, all the chassis modifications that have got to be done. There's certain mods that we do to make things easier to change. But just basically, you know, the main work in the shell is just to make it last for those 10 days, because it's brutal on the cars, you know, it really is. And then the whole car is then, everything's built at Tuthill's, engine, gearbox, everything's done in-house, which is great because we're not waiting on outside suppliers, you know, coming up. We maybe have to go and have a word in the engine shop, but normally the boys have got stuff ready on time. So, you know, by the time the shell's been in paint shop, which is in-house, bring the shell in the workshop, you know, then we've got all the sub-assembly suspension built up and the boys can start building the car, you know, then, which they're all the same spec. You know, like I say, they've got a standard build for the cars, which we know works. And also we have to take that many spares to the rally. So, you know, we need to make the cars identical just so that, you know, that whichever van is at the end of the stage, the parts will fit. It's no good having different dampers on one car or brakes on another. We just make it all the same, and then, you know, everyone's used to fixing the same car, or, you know, you use the same tools. So it just makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah, even down to like, even, you know, the spanner size is the same right across all the cars, you know, so there's
it has to be,
and they're looking,
and all the, you know, all the spare parts are interchangeable, you know, and just the basic setup of the cars, the suspension settings and everything. You know, we test every car in the UK before we send them out. So we either go to Walters Arena or Sweet Lamb, give them a good shakedown, and then we do a test. We were out there 10 days before the event started, so we do some testing. We did some testing out near Mombasa. Richard drives all the cars. Once he's happy, signs them off. Then the customers or drivers start arriving, and, you know, they can get to drive the car. But we know that, you know, if Richard's happy with it, then it's good to go. So it's really just them getting back into the car and get used to it.
Yeah. And, like, you know, you talk about, you know, like a donor car rolling in. From that rolling into it rolls out the other side, you know, as a rally car. You know, approximately how many man hours goes into that?
Yeah, I would say total it's probably about 600 hours to build a car, you know, fabrication and build and everything. Obviously there's a bit more in the engine and gearbox, but the actual build, yeah, you're probably looking about 600 hours. I mean, there's a lot of work in the body shell. You know, that's where I would say that's one of the biggest time-consuming areas of the build. But the two lads, the two brothers that we've got working for us that do the shells, do a fantastic job, and they're obviously doing them all the time. So again, they're all the same, all spot on, you know. So it's it makes our job a bit easier.
And, like, you know, like the rally, you know, how soon does everyone have to be in a container ready to go before the event?
Well, we aim to get the cars out a month before the rally, just in case there's any hold-ups with shipping or containers or customs. Obviously, with the date change, we had a lot of cars out there for the event in November.
Yes.
And then it got cancelled, moved to when it was. So those cars went into storage.
Okay.
We then shipped some more cars out, but we ended up flying 3 cars just because 2 of the customers made the late decision to do the rally, so they agreed to fly it. And then the Ken Block's car, we sent that out to Saudi. We went out to do a motor show event with him, and he got to test the car out in Saudi. So that car flew from Saudi to Kenya. So that had been on a few air miles before it got there.
And then, you know, like, so, you know, what kind of manpower is required? Like, you talked about 14 cars there without completing. Like, how many people do you need on the ground then?
I think the team in total was about 100 people that we had on the event. you know, I mean, it's huge. That's, you know, the biggest challenge for us is the logistics. We had 23 service vehicles. So that's 46 mechanics straight off, you know, just because the stages weren't in loops, they were in a line. So one van, you couldn't rely on it being at the end of every stage, or you just needed it to be held up. So we had to double up on the vans to make sure that every stage was covered. And then we had, you know, obviously management, coordinators, physio, paramedic, you know, that we have on the rally. You know, so there's all that logistics. It's just huge, you know, to get everybody around in the right place is one of the biggest challenges for sure.
Yeah, and like even, you know, like the tires, fuel, you just have to take all that with you because you can't rely on getting fuel even out in Africa, can you?
Well, we did get fuel out there, which was, you know, race fuel that was in drums. You wouldn't trust the local filling stations, right. Definitely not. But no, we had proper race fuel, and then we shipped the tires out. So 600 tires we shipped out. So yeah, that's, you know, like, you know, again, logistically, on top of the service vans, we had a mothership truck, which was a 40-foot container, part workshop, part stores. So that would restock the vans every night, whatever parts they used. We had another truck that was just for rebuilding dampers. So at the end of each day, if there was any, you know, damper issues or whatever, that they would get onto that job. And then also the tyre fitting boys as well. So, you know, another truck with the fuel in going around. So yeah, getting everybody in the right place is quite a challenge.
And then keeping everybody themselves fed and water too, I suppose. That's all.
Yeah,
all has to look after too.
Yeah. I mean, again, we had our own catering company because, you know, let's be honest, in Africa, it is a worry what you're eating and drinking. So, you know, you're okay in the hotels, breakfast and dinner at night's okay, but through the day, we had a catering company that went to the lunchtime services. Obviously, looking after the drivers was the main priority, but, you know, they also the lads, everybody else could eat from there, or at least if some of the vans didn't make it, would do, you know, packed lunches to take on for those boys. So at least we knew that they were getting something decent to eat and drink. Because keeping everyone healthy is that's why we had the doctor there. That's invaluable. I mean, you know, the amount of different issue apart from just cuts and burns and the number of other things that he had to deal with, you know, invaluable. You couldn't do without it, you know.
Yeah. And like, you know, one car retiring out of 14, that must give you a great sense of pride too, that, you know, the cars proved so reliable over the 9 days as well.
Yeah, still annoying that we lost one. Just a bit of an engine issue with that car, which was a shame because that guy was on his first rally ever, and he was in, you know, he was well in the top 10. I mean, he was going well. And then for Patrick, you know, to come close to winning, it really, you know, that was really disappointing for us. Finished second, which is, you know, it's still a good result, but I think, you know, he was well on for the win, and unfortunately, you know, had a broken drive shaft. And another couple of days, I think he would have caught back up, but ran out of time. But no, I mean, 6 cars in the top 10 was, you know, was great. I mean, that's, you know, it's pretty good going, and I think, you know, it does show the strength of the cars and you know, the fact that the performance over there, they're well suited to that event.
Absolutely. And, you know, in previous years, Tuthill have run the likes of Blomqvist and Waldegard and these guys. But this year, like having Ken Block, does that bring a different type of pressure too? Because, like, you know, as Colin McMaster said, you know, earlier, that, you know, you have 4.9 million followers tuning into his updates.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, I think everyone was a little bit apprehensive going in, but I mean, Ken's such a great guy to work with, you know, just so down to earth. Him and Alex, I mean, I've known Alex a long time anyway, but Ken was really good, really professional, got on with the job. You know, I think he took to the car really well. And, you know, I would say there was no more pressure on keeping his car going than Patrick's or anyone else's. It was just the fact that you got a bit more media about. There's his GoPro cameras everywhere you turn, you know. But no, I mean it was great. I think it went really well. I think he enjoyed the event. You know, we certainly had a great time with him. He was really competitive as well. So I think hopefully he'll be keen to have another crack at it.
Excellent. And Richard talked about you coming into the team, with a fresh pair of eyes and a good contact book. Like, what did you feel that you brought to the operation this year?
I mean, to be honest, Kevin, they've been going so long to Africa. It's very well set up. The whole team, everybody knows what they're doing. A lot of the contractors, mechanics, have been going for 8-10 years with them, same guys, so they're used to the event. I think it was just more about taking on board this event, trying to manage it up from the technical side, which is what I was looking after, mainly just the keeping the cars going, making sure they're set up right, managing the service areas. So I think just coming back from that now and having to think that maybe some things we could improve on or might make things a bit more efficient next year. But like I say, that they've got so much experience on the rally that it definitely it runs really pretty well as it is.
And like, probably a stupid question, but did you enjoy being there and then being involved in it all too?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic experience. I mean, it's that's one of the things you go back there and you just drive along. First time you see an elephant or a giraffe, and you're like, oh my God. And then by the end of 10 days, you're driving past them. It's as if it's just, whatever at the side of the road. I mean, you kind of take it for granted.
Here, whatever kind of thing.
And some of the hotels we stayed in, we were very lucky, to be in some amazing, hotels and on the safari parks, and those experiences, they definitely stay with you. That's for sure. But yeah, it's hard work. There's no denying it's full on. Especially with the services at night, you get a 2-hour service every night, so you can bring the car out of Park Ferme, work on it for 2 hours, put it back in. So, I was obviously trying to manage when was the best time to bring the cars out, which cars needed the most work. This car needs welding, right? We'll get that one first, and we're trying to keep track of all the cars being worked on and make sure they get back in Park Ferme at the right time was a bit stressful.
It's like keeping that whole flow moving on. It's not from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. It's 2 hours, but it's staggering them across the time. Yes.
So you didn't have to bring them all out at the same time. You had a certain time. So any with big jobs, we tried obviously get them out first and get them knocked on the head before we bring the others out that didn't need so much work. But there's always something to do. I mean, one of the nights we had the engine out of the car to do some welding because it was easy just to drop it out, and so it's makes it interesting, keeping on top of everybody, that's for sure.
And like Richard talked this year about the great atmosphere among all the staff, like the mechanics, the engineers, the crews, everything. Like, that must make such a difference just when everything clicks as well. Everybody's pulling together in the same direction. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like I say, that a lot of the people are regulars, so they all know one another, even though they maybe only see each other every 2 years for the rally, but just slot back in together. And I think also one of the good things was a lot of the newer drivers that we had, because there was so many that were just on the first event or fairly new to rallying still, but they all really got on well together. So every night they'd all be sitting having a meal and obviously going over what happened through the day, and if anybody was struggling, some of the new co-drivers, the likes of Alex or Alan Harriman would be helping them out. This is what you need to be doing on your road books, or everyone just mucked in with with the crews, which I think is a real big part of what Tuthill's tried to do. It's not just the rally; it's the experience and the event.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of those guys are just going out purely for the experience of driving in Africa. You know, they're not. Yeah, they want to do well, but it's not the be all and end all to win the rally. They just want to, you know, enjoy themselves and get around. And I think that you know, the feedback that we're getting after the rally is that everyone enjoyed it and keen to go again, hopefully.
I think, you know, for somebody that, you know, maybe working in the city or whatever, you know, like is used to the high life, to go and do something like that, you know, it must blow their mind to come likes of London or Hong Kong or something, and then to spend, you know, like 9 days in deepest, darkest Africa, you know, driving a rally car through, you know, the worst possible roads.
Well, that's it. I mean, the you know, like I say, we tested the cars before the rally, and most of the customers came down to do the test stage. So, you know, they'd have a steady run round, and then, you know, Richard would give them a run round in the car just to show what the car's capable of. And obviously, all the roads are open. You know, there's guys on scooters with a goat tied on the back coming the other way. You know, and it's just you know, it blows the mind when they see that. You know,
Yes.
but you know, once the 2 or 3 days in, they kind of get it, and you know, they know.
Yeah.
You know, they know what to kind of expect of it more. But yeah, when you see the at the end of the first run round the car with Richard, they're quite surprised, I think, at what they've got lined up for them.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind the fact that some of these guys, it was the first ever rally, but like, Richard explained that, you know, they got more mileage in one day doing the safari than they would probably nearly do in a full season of BRC nearly, you know. And that's you know, when you think of it like that, it's such a, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's mind blowing, really, isn't it? That way, you know. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's, you know, one of the biggest things you can take from it is just you've got so long in the car, you can't help but improve, because you know, you're making mistakes one day, you go out the next day, right? You know, I'm going to work on this area, or I'm going to do this differently, and you know, you've got you know, you come across so many different conditions, different surfaces, you know, different grip levels, you know, the roughness of the road. So all that, you know, the experience that they'll get from that, like you say, is, you know, it's far beyond what they would.
Yeah, then having the likes of Orion Championer and all that, and Harriman beside them too, you know, is also helping, you know, because it's that kind of matching up, you know, driver to co-driver as well. Like that's helping them to develop as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think, you know, most of them went with an experienced driver, but you know, there's Jamie and Kenny, the 2 Scottish customers we had. You know, neither of them had done a rally in their life. Nothing. You know, we did a couple of days at Sweetland with them, with Ryan tuition, and a little bit of roadbook work, and then straight out to Kenya. The first, you know, not even done like a 12-car rally or a single venue or anything, and just, you know, turn up at the start of Safari, and they finished in the top 20. So, you know, that, you know, they couldn't believe it at the end. They were just absolutely blown away. So it was, you know, you see people like that getting to the finish, and you know, that the experience that they've taken from that is amazing. It's great to see. You know, I think that's one of the things, like I say, for Tuthill's that we try and aim for, is that everyone, you know, enjoys it as well as finishes it. You know, they've got to have a good time. It's no good making it a chore. You've got to, you know, make it enjoyable.
And even the likes, it must give you immense pride, you know, to see them enjoy it so much and get what it's all about, and then to get to the finish as well too. Like, so. Oh
yeah, I mean, honestly, myself and Richard waited at the last service for all of the cars to come through. You know, we went up to the end of the last stage and just waited to see everybody through, right from, you know, the first till the last, and you know, the American couple that finished, you know, the last of our cars, not last in the rally by any means, but you know, they'd just come over from America, same thing. You know, they just done a couple of regularity rallies, and you know, they couldn't believe it that they'd finished the Safari rally. They were just, you know, absolutely gobsmacked that they managed to get round. But you know, they set out, did what they wanted to do, and you know,
It's something they can tell the grandkids, you know. Really.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So the East African Safari Rally now 2023, probably about 18 months away. You know, is the brain already clicking into gear? We need to do this, we need to do this, we have to have that done.
Well, I think we had 3 meetings the second day after we were back from Kenya to go over, you know, technical debrief on, you know, issues that we'd had with the car, how we can improve the car logistically, you know, what we're going to do, planning. Obviously, the rally's back to November next year, which I think will be better because it was so hot this time, you know, when we did it this time of year, you know, that really made it tougher as well for as much for the lads working on the cars. I mean, it was, you know, they're out there in 35 degrees and changing a gearbox or whatever. It's tough going. So I think going back to November, it's definitely going to be better for us for getting some of the mercenaries that we use. We're obviously committed to World Championship this year, so we lost a few because of Rally Sweden with the date clash. So you know, it'll be better for sure. But no, we're already planning, and luckily we're getting quite a lot of interest from people, you know, other customers or other drivers that are looking to do the event. So I'm just not sure how many will be the cut-off cars we'll run. I have to work on Richard on that one.
Yeah. And then to wrap things up, the 3 standout memories from the event for you.
I think 3. One of them for sure was getting a WhatsApp photo of Ken going over that jump that Colin McMaster took.
Yeah.
I only found out after that he'd told him that he knew the jump and it was flat.
Yeah.
And I saw the height of that, and I'm thinking, oh, he can't carry on like that, or he won't be getting around the rally. But no, that was a bit worrying. And then I think the service where we had, you know, the engine out the car, probably at that same service, we had a couple of gearboxes out. We had a suspension guy had gone off here, rock, so suspension damage. So, you know, seeing all those cars in that state and getting them all turned round and back out with no time penalties, you know, credit to the lads because they all done a brilliant job on that. I mean, that, you know, sometimes you see the cars come in, you're thinking, oh, this is it, you know, but you just turn them around and get them back out again. So that was really satisfying, I think, from the mechanical side of things. And then I think lastly, yeah, just probably that last service, just seeing everybody's smile coming into the finish, you know, from Patrick and Ken to, like I say, right through everybody, the new drivers, and, you know, they all just, you know, it was like they'd won the lottery. Honestly, they were just, you know, that whole night, and, you know, obviously a few beers after the rally was quite enjoyable. But yeah, no, just I think the fact that everyone, you know, had enjoyed the event, and even, you know, unfortunately the driver that didn't get round, he was still quite happy that he'd almost got round and enjoyed what he had done, and he just said, oh, well, it just shows I've got to come back, you know, and finish it off. So
yeah.
So no, it was good. It was great experience, and you know, Richard's built such a good team that, you know, I think the actual camaraderie and the morale in the team, just you know, even when times are tough and there is, you know, some stressful times, but people just crack on and get on with it, you know.
So that was Andy Brown, fascinating as always. I'm sure, speaking on behalf of Connor, I think it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with the guys and hear the stories. As Connor said earlier, we've only scratched the surface of the stories there of the East African Safari Classic. So I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have recording it. So until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.